Imagine this. A woman steps into an elevator on a normal workday. The doors slide shut. Lights flicker once, then again. The elevator shudders. She presses the door open button. Nothing. She tries the alarm. Silence. And then she realizes she is not alone. A man stands behind her, too close, too quiet, watching her panic grow. This is the moment every woman should know about, because what happens next is not just a story about mechanical failure. It's about awareness, instincts, and the hidden risks inside one of the most common machines in our workplaces, the elevator. Welcome to Workplace HSE Explained. Today, we uncover the elevator incident every woman should know about. This is part 1 of a 4-part investigative breakdown, and by the end of this series, you will understand exactly how elevator failures happen, how people get trapped, how personal safety risks escalate inside confined spaces, and what every organization must do to prevent such incidents. Our story begins at 8:42 a.m. inside a corporate office building. The woman, let's call her Anika, was running late. She rushed into the elevator on the ground floor, expecting a quick ride to the 9th. The elevator was old, but functional. Or so everyone thought. The first warning sign appeared before the doors even closed, a slight delay, barely noticeable, but enough for the sensor to misread the door position. This tiny malfunction would later become the root cause of the entire incident. As the elevator began moving, Anika noticed a faint grinding noise. Most people ignore such sounds, assuming they're normal. But in elevator safety, unusual noise is never normal. It often indicates misaligned guide rails, worn rollers, or failing brakes. Halfway between the 3rd and 4th floors, the elevator jerked violently. Anika grabbed the handrail. The lights dimmed. The fan stopped. The elevator froze. She pressed the emergency button. No response. She tried her phone. No signal. She took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. Then she heard breathing behind her. The man in the elevator, someone she had barely noticed earlier, shifted closer. In a confined space with no escape, a mechanical failure had now turned into a personal safety threat. This is where most people panic. But panic clouds judgment. And in elevator incidents, your decisions in the first 60 seconds matter the most. Let's pause the story here and break down what went wrong mechanically. Elevators rely on 3 critical systems. Door interlock system ensures the elevator cannot move unless doors are fully closed. Brake system holds the elevator in place during stops. Control panel and sensors detect floor position, speed, and door status. In Anika's case, the door interlock sensor malfunctioned. The elevator moved despite receiving incomplete door closed confirmation. This caused the system to enter protective halt mode, freezing the elevator mid-shaft. But the emergency communication line also failed, another major violation of elevator safety standards. Now, combine that with a vulnerable passenger and an unknown individual in a confined space. This is how a simple mechanical fault becomes a high-risk personal safety scenario. In part 2, we continue the story from the moment the elevator stops and reveal the psychological, mechanical, and safety failures that escalate the danger. The elevator was silent, too silent. Anika could hear her own heartbeat echoing in the metal box. The man behind her shifted again, and she felt the air tighten. A mechanical failure had trapped her, but the real danger was the uncertainty of the person standing just a few feet away. This is the moment most people underestimate. When an elevator stops, the mind races. Fear amplifies every sound, and in a confined space, psychological pressure becomes as real as any physical hazard. Anika forced herself to breathe slowly. She remembered something from a safety training session. Control what you can, observe what you can't. So she observed. The man wasn't panicking. He wasn't pressing buttons. He wasn't calling for help. He was simply watching her. That was the second red flag. Let's break down what's happening here from a safety perspective. When an elevator halts unexpectedly, the first priority is communication. Modern elevators must have a working alarm button, a two-way communication system, backup power for emergency lighting, automatic alerts to maintenance teams. But in this case, the emergency line was dead. That means the elevator's auxiliary power unit, APU, had failed or was never maintained properly. Without it, the alarm system, ventilation fan, and emergency lights become unreliable. This is not just a technical failure, it's a violation of basic elevator safety codes. Inside the elevator, the temperature began to rise. Stagnant air makes panic worse. Anika wiped her palms on her clothes and tried the buttons again. Still nothing. The man finally spoke. "Looks like we're stuck," he said, his tone too calm for the situation. Anika nodded but didn't respond. She positioned herself near the control panel, keeping distance. In confined spaces, positioning is a form of protection. Meanwhile, outside the elevator, no one knew they were trapped. The building's monitoring system had not triggered any alert. This is a common oversight in older buildings. Many rely on manual reporting instead of automated fault detection. Back inside, the elevator suddenly dropped an inch. A tiny movement, but enough to send a jolt of fear through both passengers. This wasn't free fall, it was the brake system adjusting. Elevators are designed with multiple layers of protection: primary brakes, secondary safety gear, overspeed governors. Even if cables fail, the elevator clamps onto the rails. But when brakes engage unevenly, the cabin can shift slightly, creating the illusion of falling. Anika steadied herself. She needed to think clearly. She checked her phone again. Still no signal. But she remembered something crucial. SMS messages sometimes go through even with weak reception. She typed a short message to her colleague: "Stuck in elevator, 3rd, 4th floor, send help." She hit send, no confirmation, but even an unsent message can transmit once the phone catches a tiny signal. The man stepped closer. "Don't worry," he said softly. "No one's coming for a while." That sentence chilled her more than the malfunction. This is where personal safety awareness becomes critical. When trapped with a stranger, maintain distance. Keep your back to a wall, not a corner. Avoid revealing fear. Speak confidently if needed. Stay alert to movements and tone. Anika shifted her stance, subtly placing her foot against the handrail for stability. She wasn't going to freeze. At this moment, the building's maintenance technician finally noticed something unusual. The elevator's floor indicator had been stuck for too long. He began walking toward the shaft room. Inside the elevator, the lights flickered again. The man exhaled sharply, irritated. Anika realized something important. He was getting uncomfortable too. Fear works both ways. In part 3, the situation escalates, mechanically and psychologically, as rescue attempts begin and the elevator's condition worsens. The maintenance technician, Ravi, reached the elevator control room. The panel showed something unusual. The elevator had stopped between floors, but the system had not registered a fault. That meant one thing: a sensor failure the system couldn't detect. He grabbed his toolkit and rushed toward the shaft access door. Every minute mattered. Inside the elevator, the tension thickened. The man leaned against the wall, arms crossed, eyes fixed on Anika. She kept her breathing steady, reminding herself that awareness was her strongest tool. She scanned the elevator interior. Most people never notice the small inspection plate near the ceiling, the ventilation gaps, or the emergency instructions, but in a crisis, these details become lifelines. The elevator jerked again, this time more violently. Dust fell from the ceiling. The man muttered something under his breath. Anika steadied herself and spoke firmly. Rescue will come soon. She didn't know if it was true, but confidence can shift power dynamics. He smirked. You think so? Let's pause and understand what's happening mechanically. Elevators rely on limit switches, devices that detect the cabin's position. When one fails, the system may freeze to prevent unsafe movement. But if multiple switches malfunction or wiring is loose, the elevator may attempt micro-adjustments, causing sudden jerks. This is why preventive maintenance is non-negotiable. A single missed inspection can create a chain reaction of failures. The maintenance technician, Ravi, reached the elevator control room. The panel showed something unusual. The elevator had stopped between floors, but the system had not registered a fault. That meant one thing: a sensor failure the system couldn't detect. He grabbed his toolkit and rushed toward the shaft access door. Every minute mattered. Inside the elevator, the tension thickened. The man leaned against the wall, arms crossed, eyes fixed on Anika. She kept her breathing steady, reminding herself that awareness was her strongest tool. She scanned the elevator interior. Most people never notice the small inspection plate near the ceiling, the ventilation gaps, or the emergency instructions. But in a crisis, these details become lifelines. The elevator jerked again, this time more violently. Dust fell from the ceiling. The man muttered something under his breath. Anika steadied herself and spoke firmly. Rescue will come soon. She didn't know if it was true, but confidence can shift power dynamics. He smirked. You think so? Let's pause and understand what's happening mechanically. Elevators rely on limit switches, devices that detect the cabin's position. When one fails, the system may freeze to prevent unsafe movement. But if multiple switches malfunction or wiring is loose, the elevator may attempt micro-adjustments, causing sudden jerks. This is why preventive maintenance is non-negotiable. A single missed inspection can create a chain reaction of failures. Back in the shaft room, Ravi opened the access panel and manually checked the brake voltage. It was fluctuating. That explained the jerks. He activated the override to stabilize the brake system temporarily. But he still couldn't communicate with the passengers. He radioed security. We have a trapped cabin. Prepare for manual rescue. Inside the elevator, the temperature continued to rise. Confined spaces heat up quickly, especially when ventilation fails. Heat increases stress, and stress affects judgment. Anika felt lightheaded, but stayed alert. She noticed the man pacing now, agitated. This was a critical shift. When people feel trapped, their behavior becomes unpredictable. This is why psychological safety is as important as physical safety during entrapment. Suddenly, a faint vibration buzzed in Anika's pocket. Her phone had caught a tiny signal. She quickly checked. Her message had been delivered. Relief washed over her, but she didn't show it. The man noticed the vibration too. Who did you message? He asked sharply. Building security, she replied calmly. He clenched his jaw. That was another red flag. At this moment, Ravi reached the elevator landing between the 3rd and 4th floors. He pried open the outer door using a special key. The inner elevator door was still shut, confirming the interlock failure. He shouted, "Anyone inside? Can you hear me?" His voice echoed faintly into the cabin. Inside, both passengers froze. Anika called out, "Yes, 2 people trapped." The man didn't speak. Ravi responded, "Stay calm. We're preparing a manual extraction. Do not try to force the doors. This instruction is crucial. Forcing elevator doors can misalign the cabin, damage the safety gear, or cause sudden movement." The man stepped closer to Anika again, lowering his voice. "You shouldn't have messaged anyone." This time, she didn't back away. She stood tall, meeting his eyes. Fear loses power when confronted. Ravi began setting up the rescue equipment. He needed to align the cabin with the nearest floor manually. This process requires precision. Too much force can trigger the overspeed governor, locking the elevator even tighter. Inside, the lights flickered once more. The man's agitation grew. Anika positioned herself near the control panel, ready to react. She wasn't just waiting for rescue, she was preparing for anything. In Part 4, the final chapter, the rescue attempt begins. The elevator's condition worsens, and the truth about the man's behavior is revealed, leading to the final safety lessons every woman must know. Ravi secured the manual alignment tool and began rotating the wheel that controlled the elevator's position. The cabin slowly inched upward, stabilizing between the third and fourth floors. Sweat dripped down his forehead, not from the heat, but from the pressure. A single mistake could jam the elevator permanently. Inside, the man grew restless. He paced, muttering, glancing repeatedly at the doors. Anika kept her eyes on him while listening for any sound from outside. She finally heard metal scraping, the unmistakable sign of a rescue attempt. "We're getting you out," Ravi shouted. Relief washed over her, but she stayed alert. The man's behavior had shifted from irritation to agitation. He stepped closer again. "You don't need to tell them everything," he whispered. That sentence confirmed her instincts. Something was off. This wasn't just fear, this was intent. Ravi managed to pry the outer door open. A narrow gap revealed the elevator's inner door. He could see the top half of the cabin. "Stand back from the doors," he instructed. Anika immediately complied. The man hesitated, then moved reluctantly. Ravi inserted the emergency release key and twisted. The inner door slid open halfway, revealing Anika first. She stepped forward quickly, gripping the edge for support. The man stayed behind her, expression unreadable. As Anika climbed out with the help of security staff, she felt the cool hallway air hit her face. But before she could fully exit, the man tried to push forward aggressively, nearly knocking her aside. Security reacted instantly, blocking him. "Wait your turn," one guard said firmly. The man glared and stepped back. Once both were safely out, the truth emerged. Security recognized him. He wasn't an employee. He had been seen loitering in the building for days, slipping in behind staff during busy hours. The elevator failure had trapped him unexpectedly, but his behavior inside revealed a deeper risk. This is the hidden layer of elevator incidents: mechanical failure plus personal safety vulnerability. Let's break down the final safety lessons from this case. Mechanical failures rarely happen suddenly. Small signs, delayed doors, unusual noises, flickering lights are early warnings. Report them immediately. 2. Emergency systems must always work. A dead alarm button or failed communication line is a critical hazard. Organizations must test these monthly. Confined spaces amplify personal safety risks. When trapped with a stranger, awareness, positioning, and calm behavior matter. 4. Trust your instincts. Anika sensed something was wrong long before the situation escalated. Instincts are an important part of personal safety. Organizations must integrate both physical and personal safety protocols. Elevator maintenance, access control, CCTV monitoring, and visitor management all work together to prevent incidents like this. As paramedics checked Anika for dehydration, Ravi approached her. "You did well staying calm," he said. She nodded, exhausted, not relieved. The man, meanwhile, was escorted away for questioning. His intentions were never fully known, but his behavior was enough to trigger a full security review. The elevator was shut down for inspection. Engineers later confirmed multiple failures: a faulty door interlock sensor, a loose brake voltage cable, and a dead emergency communication line. 3 preventable issues, 3 missed opportunities, 1 dangerous incident. And that brings us to the final message of this documentary. Elevators are safe when maintained. But safety is never just mechanical. It's human, it's awareness, it's preparation. Anika walked into the elevator expecting a normal ride. She walked out with a lesson every woman and every workplace should remember. This is Workplace HSE Explained. If you found this breakdown valuable, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Stay aware, stay prepared, and I'll see you in the next safety investigation.